A father's quiet struggle, an unexpected act of heroism in a nursing home, and a love that struck out of the blue. This heartfelt story will show how life can change in the most unforeseen moments. Matt was a divorced father. He and his ex-wife had parted ways respectfully due to some irreconcilable differences. He had a young son, and during the divorce process, he had agreed to let his ex-wife have full custody. Moreover, he had decided to leave the house to them so his son could continue living comfortably. Always wanting the best for his family, Matt moved out and rented a small apartment. To cover the expenses of this new arrangement, he had to work harder. Matt worked in restoration, handling everything from renovating staircases to repairing electrical systems. Determined to expand his business and increase his income, he reached out to his connections and let them know he was looking for additional work. Finally, the opportunity he had been waiting for came knocking. He had secured a new job. Matt had received news of a donation for a nursing home. The funds, intended for gradually renovating the aging building, were exactly the kind of project he had been looking for. Since the work would progress step by step, it allowed Matt to take on the project without disrupting his existing commitments. He quickly visited the nursing home, inspected the building and consulted with an expert. Together they carefully planned the renovations, which included repairing walls, replacing pipes, reinforcing staircases, and aesthetic adjustments like painting. Matt got to work right away. He obtained permission from the nursing home management to perform quiet tasks at night so as not to disturb the residents. This was a crucial detail, as the residents would continue living there during the renovations. Matt dedicated 4 to 5 hours each day to the nursing home, gradually transforming the building. He reinforced the windows to withstand winter conditions and meticulously checked the plumbing. During this time, Matt began forming connections with the nursing home residents and staff. His humorous and dependable demeanor quickly won everyone over. The elderly residents felt at ease with his warm personality, while the staff admired his dedication and respect for his work. Every day at the nursing home offered Matt a fresh perspective on life, reminding him that one day he too would grow old. This realization helped him cultivate a more positive and meaningful outlook on life. A few weeks into the project, the finish line was in sight. One evening, as he prepared his tools to inspect the electrical systems and windows on the nursing home's medical floor, he reflected on his dedication and the significance of the work he was doing. With that thought, he set off to continue his mission. Matt carefully began his work on the medical floor, making every effort to remain as quiet as possible. This floor was more critical than the others. Every patient's condition required serious attention. As he worked, an unusual sound caught his attention. It was a faint, high-pitched noise, as though something was lightly striking against something else. Curious, he decided to investigate and found himself standing in front of a patient's room. He hesitated to open the door, not wanting to disturb anyone, but the possibility of an emergency urged him forward. With some trepidation, he stepped inside. The moment he entered, he saw an elderly man connected to a ventilator. The man was struggling to breathe, reaching toward the floor where his emergency call button had fallen. Meanwhile, the cables connected to the ventilator were lightly striking the stand, producing the high-pitched noise. Without a second of hesitation, Matt sprang into action. He bent down, pressed the emergency call button, and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Nurse! Doctor! Emergency!" As his voice echoed through the halls, Matt quickly moved to the bedside to inspect the ventilator. He realized it wasn't functioning properly. The man's labored breathing and the rattling sounds from the machine were alarming. With trembling hands, Matt examined the cables and discovered a loose connection in the device's power supply. He immediately grabbed a pair of pliers from his pocket and tightened the cable. At that moment, the ventilator sputtered back to life with a steady hum. The room fell silent for a brief second before the elderly man drew a deep, clear breath. And then another. The events of those few seconds left Matt shaken. Still gripping the pliers, he barely noticed as 2 nurses and a doctor rushed into the room. The doctor quickly examined the patient, while the nurses checked the ventilator. Yet Matt didn't let go of the pliers. He knew the machine was still dependent on his fix. His face, a mix of fear and determination, made it clear just how much weight he felt in that moment. When Matt explained that the ventilator had a loose connection, the nurses quickly brought in a replacement and began setting it up. Meanwhile, the doctor carefully assessed the elderly man's condition. Having been without sufficient oxygen for a short time, the man's levels had dropped and recovery would take some time. With precision and urgency, the team connected him to the new machine. To ease his anxiety, the doctor offered a few reassuring words and administered a mild sedative. The man took slow, steady breaths, closed his eyes and gradually calmed down. Matt saved a life while battling a ventilator malfunction at the nursing home. But life had its own surprise in store for him. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories. Now let's continue Matt's unexpected journey. Matt, however, was still reeling from the terrifying experience. He cast one last glance at the nurses adjusting the new ventilator, then quietly left the room. Out in the hallway he noticed sweet elderly Abby watching everything unfold. She didn't live on this floor, she must have come down after hearing the commotion. The fear and worry etched on her face showed how deeply the scene had affected her. Matt had met Abby before while working, and he knew her delicate and sensitive nature. Understanding her distress immediately, he gently took her arm and said softly, "Let's get you back to your room." With slow, careful steps, he guided her down the hall, all the while trying to suppress his own lingering fear. When they reached her room, tears silently rolled down Abby's cheeks. Matt could see how shaken she was by what she had witnessed. In a calm, soothing voice, he tried to comfort her. "It's okay now, Abby. You're safe," he reassured her. As he looked into her eyes, he realized he wasn't just trying to console her, he was also searching for a way to quiet the turmoil within himself. Seeing the tears rolling down Abby's cheeks, Matt gently guided her to the balcony after she murmured, "I need some fresh air." He pulled out 2 chairs and they sat together under the quiet, cool night sky. Turning to her, Matt softly asked, "What's on your mind? Why are you crying?" Abby sighed, her voice heavy with sadness. "I feel like my time is running out." Matt quickly responded, "Don't think like that. Everything will be okay," trying to reassure her. But Abby couldn't hold back any longer and continued, "My daughter lives in a nearby city," she said, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "In a small town." Matt guessed the name of the town and Abby nodded slightly. "Yes," she said. "Do you live there too?" Matt asked. Abby shook her head gently. "No, but I'm close," she replied. Matt smiled faintly. "I guess because you said close." Abby nodded again and went on, "My daughter lives there, she's a teacher. We're close and she used to visit me here often. Seeing her always made me feel better. But now she can't come." She paused, her voice trembling. "She called me the other day. She had an accident driving in the snow. Broke her leg. The doctor told her she needs to rest at home." Abby's voice cracked as tears welled up again. "I miss her and I worry about her. But she can't come and I can't go to her. I'm old. I don't even feel safe taking a bus anymore. I have health problems and living here is the best thing for me. But she's my daughter and she needs me now." As Abby finished speaking, she began to sob quietly. Matt, deeply moved by her helplessness, leaned in closer and softly said, "Everything will be okay, Abby," as he wrapped his arms around her in a comforting embrace. Her trembling shoulders gradually eased, and the cool night air enveloped the shared warmth of their heartfelt moment. Matt felt a pang in his heart as he reflected on Abby's words. He understood her pain deeply. Just last week, when he heard his son had caught a simple cold, he'd panicked and wanted to rush to his side immediately. That was what it meant to be a parent, knowing your child needed you overshadowed everything else. In a gentle tone, Matt said, "Abby, everything will be all right. Both you and your daughter will be fine. Try to get some rest now, okay?" He helped her into bed and carefully tucked her in. Seeing this sweet, normally cheerful woman so downcast weighed heavily on him. Quietly leaving her room, Matt returned to his work on the medical floor. In the hallway he ran into the doctor and nurses. The doctor looked at him with genuine gratitude and said, "You saved a life, Matt. We might not have noticed the malfunction in time, and even if we had, fixing it that quickly would have been tough. This was our oversight and we feel terrible about it. Tomorrow, I'll call the administration and request a maintenance check for all the equipment." Matt nodded, "That's a great idea. A malfunction like this could lead to bigger dangers like a fire." The doctor repeatedly thanked him before walking away, a look of embarrassment still lingering on his face. It was his responsibility to ensure the safety of the floor. But Matt reassured him, saying, "It was a difficult issue to catch beforehand. Don't be too hard on yourself." The weight of everything that had happened that day left Matt drained. He decided not to continue working and headed home instead. On the way, his thoughts returned to Abby. Understanding her pain wasn't difficult. The deep bond and concern a parent feels for their child was something Matt knew all too well. Matt decided to do something about Abby's situation. The thought of leaving it unresolved made him restless. The next day, the doctors had already informed the administration about Matt's quick action. Just as they were discussing his efforts, Matt knocked on the office door. The administrator opened it with a warm smile of gratitude. Matt, thank you so much. Your attentiveness and composure saved a life. I'll be informing the patient's family about this, she said. Matt replied humbly, I just did what needed to be done. Then he added, actually, I'm here to talk about something else. As the doctor shook hands with Matt and left the room, Matt shared Abby's story with the administrator. She nodded, saying, we love Abby and her daughter, they're such a sweet family. But I'm not sure how we could arrange for Abby to visit her daughter. Matt immediately offered a solution. I can safely take her there and bring her back if you approve. After calling Abby's daughter to confirm, the administrator gave her blessing. Matt, smiling, left the office and went straight to Abby's room. She greeted him with a warm smile. Oh Matt, you've become like a son to me. I'm sorry for burdening you yesterday. Thinking about life and death stirs up emotions, she said, her voice tinged with sadness. Matt was deeply moved by her vulnerable yet hopeful expression. I've got a surprise for you, he said gently. You might want to pack a small bag. Abby looked at him, puzzled. I got permission to take you to see your daughter. Come on, get ready, Matt announced. The joy that lit up Abby's face was indescribable. Shortly after, the doctor entered the room and handed Matt a set of Abby's medications along with detailed instructions for the day and night. He also provided his contact number and explained what to do in case of an emergency. Abby, now brimming with excitement, was already packed and ready to go. As she climbed into Matt's car, her face radiated pure happiness, which filled Matt with a deep sense of peace. During a break on the road, Matt called his ex-wife to explain the situation. As he expected, she was understanding and reassured him not to worry. Finally they arrived. Abby, standing in front of her daughter's apartment, knocked on the door with eager anticipation. The door opened to reveal the beautiful Beth, her daughter, who stood there with a look of surprise and delight. Beth opened the door with her foot in a cast, leaning on crutches. For a moment Matt froze. Her radiant beauty and warm smile sparked something inside him he hadn't felt in a long time. It was as if time stood still. While Matt struggled to suppress his surprise and the sudden rush of emotion, Abby hugged her daughter tightly. Oh my dear girl, how are you? How's your leg? Abby asked, her voice full of concern. Beth reassured her. I'm fine, Mom, it's just a fracture. It's healing, and welcomed them inside. The apartment had a warm and cozy atmosphere, decorated in soft colors. Through the window they could see the city covered in gently falling snow. They sat near a small fireplace on comfy chairs. The soothing environment helped Abby and Beth relax. Beth introduced herself to Matt and shook his hand. As they exchanged pleasantries, it became clear Beth was just as flustered as Matt. She occasionally stumbled over her words, the joy of seeing her mother mixed with gratitude toward Matt evident in her every gesture. When Beth tried to get up to fetch water, Matt gently stopped her. I'll get it, he said, lightly brushing her hand as he took the glass from her. Both of them felt a spark in that brief touch. That day, Abby and Beth spent hours catching up, reliving cherished memories. By evening, Matt ordered a delicious dinner for everyone, and they shared the meal in high spirits. Afterward, Matt insisted on washing all the dishes, not wanting to burden Beth or tire Abby. They stayed up late, chatting and laughing until it was time for Abby to rest. After settling Abby in the guest room, Matt returned to the living room and saw Beth struggling with her crutches, trying to carry some blankets. He immediately stepped in and gently helped her back to her seat. The flickering firelight illuminated Beth's face, and Matt found himself captivated by the sight. It was clear this was love at first sight. As their late-night conversation deepened, they discovered just how much they had in common. Before leaving, Matt said, I live nearby in case you ever need anything, and gave Beth his phone number. The next morning, during a sweet farewell, Beth expressed how much she missed her mother and how deeply she appreciated Matt's thoughtfulness in bringing her there. Then, with a sudden burst of courage, she leaned in and gave Matt a soft kiss on the cheek when her mother wasn't looking. That small yet meaningful gesture reassured Matt that his feelings weren't one-sided. Filled with a quiet joy, he safely brought Abby back to the nursing home. You didn't just save a life, you brought me to my daughter. You're the hero around here, Abby said with a warm smile as a few staff members chuckled while helping her settle in. When Matt returned home, the phone call he'd been waiting for finally came. That day, Matt and Beth talked on the phone for hours, completely losing track of time. Their conversation flowed so naturally and pleasantly that neither of them wanted to hang up. For Matt, the unexpected joy of rediscovering love was exhilarating. As he finally ended the call, he made a promise to himself, I'll cherish this chance. Despite his busy schedule, Matt made time to get to know Beth better. The two began meeting frequently, and each shared moment became even more special. Their laughter and deep conversations strengthened their bond day by day. Eventually, their relationship became official. They were together. Beth and Matt didn't just bring happiness into each other's lives. They also filled Abby's world with warmth and joy. They frequently visited her, sharing delightful moments that brightened her days. Abby couldn't have been happier, watching her daughter and Matt's growing love with a sense of pride and contentment. Life has a way of opening unexpected doors at the most surprising times and places. For Matt and Beth, this door was filled with love and peace. Grateful for this second chance, they decided to face the future together, embracing every moment with open hearts. Life is often full of surprises, especially when we least expect them. If this story touched your heart and you don't want to miss more inspiring tales, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until next time, where love, hope, and second chances come alive in our stories. See you in the next one.